Here we go in three, two, one.
What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. Austin, it's an important week.
Third
This
Saturday in October.
is the third Saturday in October. So, as everyone in Vol Nation knows, the Crimson team is coming to town, and that's big stuff. Now, let me go ahead and say right out of the gate. Okay, we got this out of the way with Florida. We got to get it out of the way with Bama. Bama's a little different than Florida. Florida, I don't respect. Okay, I respect Alabama. Okay, Alabama has a storied program. Alabama has a lot of tradition. Alabama has, they're a respectable team, no doubt. With that being said, I despise Florida, or I'm sorry, I despise Alabama. I hate Alabama. I hate the Crimson Tide. And so we got to get this out of the way. It's a big week, man. We gotta win this game. There's a lot riding on this game. It's a rivalry. It's the third Saturday in October. It's one of the oldest rivalries, if not the oldest rivalry in the SEC. A lot of young kids don't understand that, right? Because because unfortunately, Tennessee has been not good for the past, decade and a half since, prior to 2022, right? So it's not really meant much for a long time, but it means something again, man. 2022, we tore down the goalpost, baby. You sent me a video earlier, and you're like, man, that was a kick that was touched by God, and no doubt it was, man. So, I mean, this is a huge rivalry. It's a huge moment.
Yeah, it's a massive game. It's really it's a huge point in the season for both teams. Like, this is the game that determines whether Tennessee is still going to have hopes of the playoffs or if Alabama is still going to have hope at the playoffs.
Yep.
Reality is, I think it's very unlikely for whoever loses this game to come out and win out and go to the playoffs if you just look at both teams' schedules from here on out. So whoever wins in this game is likely going to be in the postseason, and can just be a huge catalyst. Like, it's one of those games, kind of like I feel like the LSU game was for us in 2022, that can give you so much momentum going forward the rest of the year. So we'll see. It's a massive game. Both teams are in very similar situations. At the beginning of the season, I think a lot of fans of both these teams thought it's a very, very good chance as an undefeated matchup. And both teams lost games they really shouldn't earlier in the year. So we're both 5-1. It's basically a top 10 matchup. I don't want to get off on the AP poll because it's such an irrelevant poll, and all the idiots that vote in that crap, they shouldn't even be able to talk about football. But for some reason, Tennessee fell out of the top 10, beating Florida close, but Alabama stayed at
Stayed
number
number
7.
seven.
No, what?
Despite almost losing to Shane
It's
Beamer
it's
and the
it's a
South Carolina Gamecocks at home.
It's a
Yeah,
completely irrelevant poll. We won't even be talking about it in a couple weeks. And all the idiots that vote on it, like I say, they don't even deserve to talk about football. Some reason they get a vote. Who knows why? And I will get off in a little bit of a tangent. I think it's okay that we drop. My biggest problem is that if we drop, why doesn't Alabama drop? When it's literally the exact same scenario. We're talking about a mid team came into your house and almost beat you. That's exactly what happened to Alabama, and they don't get touched. Bunch of biased idiots in that poll. But anyways, like you said, dude, this is historically it's a massive game, and this season it's a massive game. It's like you said, this rivalry is back. Really, since 2022, it's been a massive game the last couple of years, for both teams, and actually meant something. So I'm really excited, dude. Yeah, it's been kind of a rough week on the hill the last 2 weeks with how the offense in particular has looked, but still extremely excited for the third Saturday in October.
yeah, it's absolutely a fun rivalry again. I mean, last year when we went into Bryant Denny, it was closer than people realize. And ultimately the question becomes, with it's like it comes down to Nico, right? How is this quarterback going to perform? And obviously, along with that, the offensive line. But we've got the defense in place, but can the offense switch into a gear that is similar to 2022, right? Obviously the 2022 game was kind of a shootout. One of the greatest Tennessee games of my lifetime, probably one of the greatest Tennessee games of all time. Potentially one of the, I mean, exactly right there, 52-49, potentially
Yes,
one of the
sir.
greatest college football games of all time, right? I mean, just an absolute classic of a game in Neyland. So Alabama is coming back to Neyland, and it's do or die for this Tennessee football team.
Yeah.
This is how you cement your legacy, right? This is how you cement your legacy as a Tennessee player. Can you beat Alabama like you should? And my boy Casey Clausen, right? The reason we have the Casey Clausen Award is because I call Casey Clausen underappreciated because he was the last team since Hendon Hooker in 2022 to beat both Florida and Alabama in the same season. And so it was a
Nico's got a
rough game.
chance.
Exactly. It was a rough game against Florida, but we won. And so now here's your opportunity. Do you come through like Casey Clausen and Hendon Hooker and join elite company and be able to beat both Florida and Alabama in the same season? I mean, and then like you said, it's not just the rivalry. It's the fact that do we want to keep competing for the playoffs, or do we want to just kind of fade, into the background? Lots riding on this man, and really, it's like you said, it's been a rough week because of this Florida game, and so that kind of leads me into kind of my overall kind of view of this game, which is, it sucks because coming into the season, we're like, hey, you know what, we have a legitimate chance, with Alabama. We have a legitimate chance to be a great football team, to make the SEC championship maybe, and make the playoffs, right? And then now, since the Arkansas game and these offensive struggles, now we're like, well, crap. All of a sudden, we're questioning that. Are we a playoff team? Can we beat Alabama? So that's what sucks. But the good news for us is that Mr. DeBoer, old Kalen, and his Crimson Tide are also struggling. They've lost to Vanderbilt and almost lost to the South Carolina Gamecocks at home. And they seem to be struggling a little bit. They seem to be struggling to put together 4 quarters of football, kind of similar to how we are. And so then my overall kind of question for the game becomes, you got two teams who are kind of slogging along. Who's gonna actually pick their feet up, get out of the slog, and get back to business?
Yeah, I think from the Tennessee perspective, it starts on offense. The defense, if statistically, has been elite. It's one of the best Tennessee defenses we've seen in a long time. So the question is, can the offense be better? Will the offense be better? Will Nico in particular be better? I think that's a key component of this game. I think whoever wins this game is going to have to hit explosive pass plays, and Nico is going to have to hit on some of the plays that he's missed throughout the season if we're going to win this game offensively. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at. Can the offense improve greatly? Now, you can look at it one or two ways. You can say, listen, this offense has sucked. It's really sucked since the second half of the Oklahoma game, and it's going to continue to suck. I mean, you could look at it like that. Or you can look at it as, thank God we got all the bad performances out of the way. It's been horrible. It can't get any worse. And it can only go up. And Alabama's defense in particular has not been very good. That's one of the reasons they have been struggling as of recent, as you pointed out, in particular in the secondary. So, and I kind of felt like this last week with Florida secondary. So it's hard to know whether the pass offense is going to get it together. But if there was ever a defense to get right against, it really is Alabama's. I mean, Alabama's defense, specifically the secondary, has been horrible. I mean, they gave up 40 to Vanderbilt. They made the worst quarterback in the SEC look good last week in South Carolina. So can Nico and Josh Heupel attack this Alabama secondary who has looked suspect? And dude, if you look at it, man, even in that Florida game, it really has been close at points. Like we're talking about a couple inches off on a couple deep passes that would have broke that game open. So can they make the plays this week? They're going to have to because our defense has been elite, but Alabama has a lot of playmakers on offense. They have a really good quarterback in Jalen Milroe, and then everyone's heard about the 17-year-old wide receiver in Ryan Williams, and they have a high octane offense. So I don't foresee our defense being able to slow them down like we've slowed down everyone else. I do think they're still going to be good. They have been elite against the run, so I think we'll continue to be elite against the run. But they're going to have to. The offense is going to have to help out the defense in this game. It's going to have to be one of those games where I think if we don't put up 30 points, we're probably losing. Now that was a staple with Heupel for a long time. I mean, putting up 30. I mean, but we haven't recently. Obviously, I mean the last two games have been historically bad on offense. So offensively, I think the biggest key is the pass offense as a whole. That means Nico's going to have to play better, going to have to make quicker decisions. Offensive line's going to have to be better in pass protection. That's one of the reasons that Nico feels like he has to bail from pockets right now is because the pass protection hasn't held up. And then the receivers are going to have to get open. I don't think they've been a massive issue, but they haven't been as good as we thought they could be. And they're going to have to make plays in this game. They're going to have to be special. Some of those balls Nico overthrows by maybe a couple inches, they're going to have to make spectacular catches. So yeah, I think that's offensively in particular. That's what this game's going to come down to. Can we hit explosive pass plays?
And what players, which players are going to, you talk about the receivers making big plays, like who's going to lay it out on the line, right? Who's going to lay out there, make that diving catch? Who's going to truly go above and beyond and give it their all for Tennessee? Because this is the Alabama game, man. Like it's now or never to do it. We've talked a lot about the culture, under Heupel and hey, what is this culture going to be? And again, this is yet another moment. Hey, you got by against Florida, right? You didn't really answer the question. You won, but you didn't win in the way that you and I talked about how we needed to really win. So now, how do you come out against Alabama and can you lay it out on the line? This offensive line, man. I mean. In particular, Lance Hurd, we talked about it in the last episode, man. Are you going to come out and give it your all, or are you going to continue playing lazy? Or maybe he's just out of shape from the injury. I don't know. But the bottom line is he's not been playing well. Campbell not playing well. And so, whatever needs to happen, whether you start someone else in their place or they just need to, find that next gear. Again, these players, it's now or never to lay it out on the line. And when you hit that sign, as you walk out of the locker room, I will give my all for Tennessee. Do you mean it, right? Are you going to do that? Obviously we know Nico. He's got to find another gear as well. He's got what I want to see from Nico is just what I've been harping on the past couple of weeks, which is quick decisions. Not holding onto the ball too long. Everyone seems to, I mean, shoot, even, obviously the armchair quarterbacks, maybe I'm being a bit of an armchair quarterback, but at the end of the day, even casual fans are noticing it's like, man, why is Nico not throwing the ball, and maybe part of that, like you said, maybe that's partly on the receivers and receivers needing to run cleaner routes and get open. Like you mentioned, Alabama secondary, we've got a chance to do that in this game. Real quick, I want to say about our secondary, I hope whoever it is, whether it's Jermod McCoy or whoever, I hope someone can put that 17-year-old in his place. Okay, this is grown man football, all right, and so I hope someone can come through and cover that kid. I hope he doesn't make us look silly. But to your point, this is definitely, this Alabama offense is definitely the best offense that we have faced yet this season. And so, I mean, our Arkansas's offense is no slouch. Let's not get that confused. Okay, Arkansas under Bobby Petrino as offensive coordinator, like they've got a good offense. Okay, but this Alabama offense is going to be the best one that we've faced this season. And so, I think you're right. I think, the defense, they have been elite. I think they are going to need to continue to come through for us, but I don't think they're going to be able to come through like they have been. And so the offense has got, I mean, like you said, I 100% agree with you. If we don't score at least 30 points, I don't see us winning this football game. This offense has to find another gear, has to score points, because the defense is. I think they're going to do their part, but they're not going to be able to do what they have been doing every other game this season. And so then, it comes down to, you know, well, let me pose this question to you. Is there even a possibility if our offense does find another gear, is there a possibility that this becomes a shootout like 2022 was? I don't foresee it being able to go that way because I don't foresee our offense finding that gear. But I mean, maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think it could happen. I mean, our I think the question mark on this team is still the secondary. We didn't play well against Arkansas. Now they bounced back massively against Florida. They looked really good against Florida. I thought Florida could attack us down the field, and we really limited those plays down the field. Our corners, Ricky Gibson and McCoy, definitely played really well. I mean, it could definitely happen. I mean, I think it's very likely that kind of I think Alabama's key to victory is a lot like our key to victory on offense and defense. It's going to come down to the pass game in this game, I believe. Now, Alabama hasn't had the struggles that we've had on offense. Frankly, they haven't. But their defensively, they've really struggled against the pass. Now, I think when it comes to our defense, I mean, again, I think that it is still the weakness on the team. So I think I wouldn't be shocked at all if Alabama hit a couple big plays. And if they do hit big plays, kind of alluding to what you're saying with 2022, I mean, we're going to have to respond, or it could get ugly. It could get ugly. So I think the key on defense is to pressure Jalen Milroe. His pass grade by PFF is way lower when he's pressured versus when he's kept clean. He has like a 62 grade under pressure, and when he's kept clean, it's like a 90. So getting pressure on Milroe is going to be critical in this game. The pass rush is going to have to get home. And I don't know if it's necessarily blitzing Milroe. Milroe's pretty good against the blitz, but it's just getting pressure. Particularly, James Pierce is going to have a good game, and he's really turned it on, which I mean is very encouraging. Milroe didn't have his best game last week, and it was because South Carolina was all over him. Their D line won consistently, and that was at home. So it's going to be pretty tough to win consistently when the calls are going to be. I mean, dude, Neyland was. That's one thing about the Florida game, and that I've kind of I was pissed after the game too how we played, but just looking at it all and the fact that we beat Florida and seeing that environment, I mean, it was literally college football at its best, and that's what Neyland Stadium is. It's the loudest stadium in the country. It's not. There's no more debate. Neyland Stadium is the best environment in the entire country, and it's going to be electric on Saturday. So with that noise, dude, if your O line struggled at home and your quarterback struggled at home, and now you add in 130 decimals on top of that, it's going to be interesting. That's one thing to. I mean, the Neyland effect is going to be very real in this game. And hopefully it helps Tennessee get pressure on the quarterback. Like I said, he's way worse under pressure. So if that happens, I think we may be able to have yet again another unbelievable defensive performance. But kind of as I said earlier, dude, if they hit those big pass plays, Nico's going to have to respond and hit them right back, or else we're not going to have a chance.
Yeah, defense is definitely going to need those extra decibels to help them stay elite against this offense. Again, one of the better offenses, if not the best offense that our defense has faced yet this season. So those Neyland effect, like you said, is got to be in full swing. In fact, you tell me that if the right things fall into place, you might be able to go to the game on Saturday, right? So I
Trying to
expect
get
you
there.
to. I expect you to come back with no voice left because we're gonna need, like you said, the defense is gonna need that extra help from Nealand against their offense. I think you're absolutely right that we've got to pressure, got to pressure Milroe. We've got to get in the backfield because the secondary is going to need that help. Like you said, despite the fact that the secondary has outperformed, we're going to need them to step up. And the linebackers, right? Keenan Peely lost for the season. We thank Keenan Peely for what he did for the team. We wish him the best. We wish him a speedy recovery. It's a huge, devastating loss, right? So how's the linebacking core going to bounce back, right? That's going to be a big leader missing on defense, right? And so we're going to absolutely have to fill in that gap left by Keenan Peely, and the D-line is going to have to get some pressure in that backfield to help our secondary with this Alabama offense. But
Yeah.
yeah,
To your point about the linebackers, I mean it's huge. It's a huge loss because Keenan Pili was the guy, the spy of the defense, the guy who's going to stop the quarterback from running, and that's going to be a massive part of this football game. Jalen Milroe is a special runner, and we kind of stopped him last year when we played him. Now he did hit explosive passes against us, so we'll see. But yeah, I was yeah. See, I am going to get off on a tangent. So listen, Alabama is like 120th right now in penalties, dude. They're horrible, and we're like 90th. So both teams are terrible. I swear, dude. Expect Alabama to play the cleanest damn game they've ever played. Had they... Anyway, had Tyler Barron not got clotheslined, okay, to begin that second half last year, we were up 20-6 going into halftime. Had Tyler Barron not got clotheslined and the idiot officials not called it, then we probably would have won last year. But it's whatever. It's fine. Dude, if I see Alabama come out of this game with 1 or 2 penalties, I'm gonna be pissed. Okay, they have been literally probably the worst. Now I don't know this for sure, but I mean, if you're 120th nationally, you're probably last in the SEC. Or at least bottom 3 in the SEC.
Good bet, yeah.
We'll see how that plays a factor in the game. We've been bad, they've been bad, so maybe we'll both be bad, but I just hope we see a fairly officiated game. Now, it's in Neyland, so we'll see. But, yeah, and I did get off on a tangent. But listen, going back to the linebacker discussion, we're going to need someone to step up and contain Milroe. I mean, that's going to be a massive factor. I mean, our run defense is elite. It is literally, like, by the numbers, the best in the country right now. I think our run defense efficiency is literally number 1 in the entire country. So that's pretty good. I mean, when you're ranked number 1. So, I mean, I expect it to be as good as it has been. But, again, this game's going to come down to explosive plays, man. It's going to come down to explosive plays in the pass and explosive plays limiting Milroe in the run game. And if we can do that, dude, it's not... The thing is with the offense, man, I mean, if you just look at the offense and how we've moved the ball on some drives and then just made stupid mistakes, like Nico fumbling at the mesh point, no reason for that. It's no reason for those kind of mistakes. If you can just clean up 3 or 4 of those mistakes, man, we're talking about scoring 35 on Florida opposed to only 23 on Florida, and we're having a whole nother discussion. We're probably 6-0. Have you cleaned up just a couple of those mistakes, just a few of those mistakes, clean up a few of those penalties? So I don't think the offense is like, I don't think it's too far off, man. It has talent. Nico has talent. The offensive line has talent. The receivers have talent. It's like, if you can just play a little bit better and the defense can do what they've been doing all season, okay, limit big plays specifically to Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe running the ball, then you have a chance. You have a chance. Yeah. So
yeah, it's just a couple guys on the offensive line. I mean, find another gear. With Nico, the thing with Nico, man, is he worries me because it worries me in general because it's like part of it is a confidence problem and a quick decision making problem. But then, like you said, there's these mistakes that he's making that don't need to be made, and so it's like I want him to make quick decisions and be decisive and confident. But by the same token, man, it's like when he is acting and going out and trying to make plays, he fumbles or he throws a pick or whatever the case may be. So
It's interesting you say that because Nico's pass grade in non-play action plays from PFF this season. So non-play action, you got to think that play action's more long developing plays. Those supposed to be quick hitter plays, those plays where you snap it, you drop back, and you make a quick decision. He has a 44.9 passing grade in SEC play on non-play action plays. So if I'm the coaching staff and I'm seeing that, I'm running play action every time. If the kid needs the play action to be better, then let him run play action, dude. It's already it's already a lot of play action, but for the love of God, 44.9, Blake, that is unplayable, dude. There's 4 quarterbacks on the roster that would have better than 44.9. That's horrible. And I love Nico, man, and I don't think his problem at all isn't that he doesn't care. He does care. He does care, and he's got talent. He has the tools. Okay, it's just a couple things, man. You just change a couple of plays, and he'll get there. I still am not going to give him the excuse of a redshirt freshman, though. I think it's a silly excuse. There's been plenty of quarterbacks that have performed well as true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, and we don't have time. It's this game. Okay, this game. If this season's going to mean...
You got to make plays. You have exactly. This game is now or never.
This season's now or never. The season comes down to this game. And if he doesn't make plays in this game, this season is effectively over. Because, listen, in a 12-team format, okay, I think we're like 15th in the country as far as talent composite's concerned. And really, I think that's based on what they came out as, so that might even be a low projection because a lot of our guys have played way above their talent coming out of high school. The point I'm making is, in a 12-team format, there's no reason that we shouldn't be in that discussion. There's no reason that we shouldn't have aspirations to make the 12-team format every single year. And this season was one of those. Dude, not 2 weeks ago were we saying the FPI had us an 80% chance to make the playoffs. So for us to say the season's over after we get eliminated from the playoffs, I think is very fair. That's the expectation. That is what we thought was going to happen. That was an 80% chance 2 weeks ago. So it's when I say the season's over if we don't make the playoffs, that's not crazy to say. We're not Kentucky. We're not South Carolina. We're not Florida. We're not playing to get 8 wins and be happy about that, dude. We've done that already. Heupel took a way less talented team to 10 wins. So if we're going to be good this season, if this season is going to mean anything, you have to win this game. Period. You have to.
You got to.
If this season's going to be relevant, right.
Like
we can be happy that we beat Billy Napier ran Florida team. Like, if y'all want to be happy about that, that's fine. I'm not, because we're way better than Florida. Like, I'm happy we won the game. I'm happy we beat Florida, but I don't think the team is gonna at the end of the season be like, oh well, we went 8-4, but at least we beat Billy Napier's Florida.
Well, yeah, because that's what you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
You were supposed to beat Florida. You were supposed to beat Arkansas, right? It was the Alabama and the Georgia game that people and people thought maybe we thought maybe the Oklahoma game coming into the season. It was those games where we were like, let's see which team is which. Let's see what they're made of, and let's see where these games are going to fall. The Florida game, you were supposed to do that. The Arkansas game, you were supposed to do that. So no, you're not happy about that. That's what you're supposed to do.
The team shouldn't be. Now, listen, we can, as fans, we can be happy about an overtime win to Florida, and the team should celebrate a win. I'm not saying they shouldn't be celebrate a win, but I'm saying if we're talking about the season expectations as a whole, and I have another point to address because you talk about how we were expected to win against Arkansas, we didn't. For the fans saying that we were going to be 5-1 going into this game, and if you told me that before the season, I'd be happy. So we, as Vol fans, should be happy. Well, I have newsflash for you. Everyone circled the Oklahoma game as a loss. Right when that game was a win, the expectations changed. So you can't go back and say, oh, well, we would have had a loss. Like, look at the beginning of the season. We were thinking we were going to be 5-1. Right when we beat Oklahoma in week 4, the expectation changed. So No, I'm not thrilled that we lost to a good team. We've all said that Arkansas is better than their record. Okay, they're probably a 5-1, 6-0 team that was disguised, as a 3-2 team coming into the football
For
game.
sure.
So I understand that from that perspective, but at the end of the day, when we won that Oklahoma game, the expectation was to be 6-0 coming into this Alabama game. So with that being said, man, if this 2024 team is going to make the postseason, this Alabama game is a must win. So they should treat it like that. You should always treat this game like a must win. This rivalry is one of the most storied in college football. It's probably the second most storied rivalry in the SEC behind the Iron Bowl. So we're talking about one of the most important games of the year. It's easily top 5 in the country as far as rivalry games are concerned. So let's act like it. Let's play like it. And I think they will, man. They have. I don't think this team's problem is an effort issue. I really don't. I think the last 2 weeks have simply come down to this offense is broken. So the question is, can they fix it?
Yeah, it's just a game of inches, man. It's like
Exactly.
can you fix those few inches, right, and come up on the right side of those inches, right? And so yeah, and at the end of the day, it comes down to this team and these players. Like, are you a competitor, right? Like we've talked, I talked about this before of like. Do you hate losing and do you love winning? Do you want to win? Do you want, to your point about, hey, getting to the end of the season, the 9-3, shoot, even 10-2, 8-4, whatever it is, and you're like, oh well, I'm happy with that. It's like, no, do you want to win championships, or do you just want to, oh, you're just here to collect your NIL paycheck and play some football, have fun, go to parties, and then probably not do your schoolwork, and then just maybe go to the NFL, or maybe just, I don't know, graduate with a sports management degree. It's like, what are you here to do? Are you here to just coast and collect your NIL check, or are you here to frickin' win football games and win a championship?
And I don't.
And
And just to respond to that, I don't think anyone's coasting right now. I think the
no,
team is
but
fine.
my point is, man, is like, to me, if you're not out there giving it your all for this game, it's okay. You're coming out of a bye week, right? You're coming out of a bye week, going on the road to Arkansas. You know, we even talked about, hey, this could be a trap game because they might come out flat, and that's what happened, right? But then Florida comes to town, and we're barely beating. But now Alabama's in town, man. This rivalry is over 100 years old.
Mhm.
This is the third Saturday in October, and so, who wants to smoke the cigars at the end of the night on Saturday?
Mhm.
Who wants to smoke those? Who and ultimately who like you've said, who wants to go to the playoffs? And so my point is that it's like, if you're not, it's this game. If you don't give your all for this game, what game are you going to give your all for?
Mhm.
And so yeah, tie up those inches, like, figure out that adjustment on the offense to figure out those, that game of inches, and let's come down on the right side of it. Ultimately is what I want to see happen, that every single player is out there giving their all, and with Nico, I hope that he can just. He's like you said, he's got the talent. So I hope his confidence is okay coming into this game. We need it to be. We need him to be the guy this game. You mentioned a while back. You said that Alabama made the worst quarterback in the SEC look decent, and that was the South Carolina quarterback. I'm pretty sure you said a couple episodes ago that Nico was rated just above him, just above the South Carolina quarterback by PFF. Is that right?
Correct.
And so it's like, if they made the worst guy in the SEC look good, then hopefully they'll make the second
Well,
worst guy in the SEC
listen,
look good.
I said that earlier in the episode, man. This is the get right game. It really is.
Yeah,
This is not a Nick Saban Alabama, dude. This is not a good offense. This is a Kalen DeBoer Alabama. And whoo-wee, if we win this game, it's listen. I think we need to commit to, if we can make it happen live after the game reaction. If we win, a lot of it's going to be about what I've heard from the idiots in the national media about Kalen DeBoer. A lot of you people really just need to hang it up. I mean, I'm just being honest. They need to hang it up because it just kills me, man. Because he took the job, and people rose him up in the coaching rankings just because he took the Alabama job, and they wanted to look smart because, well, if he does really well, which he probably will because he just took over Nick Saban's Alabama and one of the best talent composites in the entire country, probably top 3, then I look like a genius because he takes over Alabama. They go, 11-1, 12-0, and all of a sudden I'll look like an idiot, or I'll look like a genius. What's already happened though is that these people just showed that they know nothing about college football. They should not be talking sports in general. Okay, just because he took the Alabama job doesn't mean all of a sudden he's a top 5 coach. What he was 4th on the list for Alabama. So what makes you think
he wasn't even their top choice, man.
That's exactly how would he all of a sudden? It kills me. So if we win, oh man, it's gonna be a field day for me. I will find the receipts, dude. I will find all the morons and idiots who all of a sudden ranked him as the second best coach in the SEC. Since when?
Well,
He took a Washington team that had 12 or 10 to 12 draft picks, dude. They had 3 guys taken in the first round on offense. They had a top 10 quarterback and a top 10 receiver, maybe the 2 most important positions in football. And all of a sudden he just lost to Vanderbilt and had South Carolina not completely shit the game away. They would have lost to South Carolina, and their whole season would be spiraling. And all the idiots on the national media, none of them would have apologized. All of them would have kept their radio jobs and whatever the hell they're doing, the crappy articles they write, and their Heisman vote, exactly. All of them would have kept all that, but nobody would have demanded I'm demanding an apology. If we beat Kalen DeBozo on Saturday, I'm demanding an apology from all the idiots in the media who rose him up just because he took the Alabama job. That's the only reason you did it. You're like, oh well, he took that Washington team, that scrappy Washington team, who had 3 first-round players. 3 first-round players. Josh Heupel hasn't had 3 first-round players since he's been on campus, dude. Since he has been on campus, he hasn't had 3 first-round players, and I am getting fired up because it irritates the hell out of me. But we're talking about 2 top 10 players, man, in the NFL draft. And I get a lot of these college football guys, they don't watch the NFL. I watch both. I look at both. I'm looking at the draft. The draft is one of my favorite times of the season. And I watch the draft, and when I see your quarterback and your receiver getting drafted in the top 10, I'm just like, maybe he's a good coach. Maybe he elevated him. Or maybe it's the other way. And maybe that Washington defense also is looking pretty sus against Vanderbilt and South Carolina. So, Nico, if there is ever a time, brother, if there's ever a time to realize your 5-star talent, it is this weekend and the 3rd Saturday in October. It is this weekend.
Now. And I've got another receipt for you, Austin. I sent this to you earlier. Okay, listen, I stopped going to ESPN for my sports news because they're no longer about sports. They're about an agenda and all this stuff, right? And whatever narrative they want to try to push. So instead, like, I've got the Bleacher Report app, and I try to, I use Bleacher Report to keep up with scores. Well, unfortunately, Bleacher Report is not much better, and Bleacher Report is actually abysmal in terms of, being good at their jobs. But they put out an article recently with a watch list for the Bear Bryant Award, the best coach in college football, and they had Kalen DeBoer on their list as on their watch list as a top contender for the Bear Bryant Award. And by the way, everyone understands that name, right? That name that was just said, Bear Bryant, and you want to give it to Kalen DeBoer, who just lost to Vanderbilt.
Like I said, man,
Let
this is
let that sink in. Like that. Like what? Who? Why do you still have a job in sports media if you're writing that kind of crap? You know?
I'll put it like this. Had Tennessee's offense not had its worst two games under Heupel back to back, I would have never been more confident going into an Alabama
Oh,
week.
100%.
They have looked like a bad team outside of one half of football this entire season. This entire season. That is a fact. If you follow the SEC and you follow other teams, a lot of people that go to a Vol podcast might not. You might just follow the Vols. If you look at Alabama's season, they have not been good except for the first half of Georgia. And I've made the argument a lot that was more so because of the Georgia quarterback than it was Alabama. He was making unforced errors, and a lot of them in the first half of that football game, so they got down. Ever since that half, they have not fixed it. And it's really the same story when you look at us. We're looking at a first half against Oklahoma where you look totally dominant on all phases. And ever since that second half to Oklahoma, and you could say we pulled back against Oklahoma, whatever. Ever since that second half, we've had an issue on offense where we cannot score touchdowns, and we just can't score points at all. I mean, and that's been a problem. So really, both teams, kind of like we mentioned in the beginning of the episode, are in a rut, and something's got to give, brother. Somebody's going to have to win this football game. Something's got to give, and it makes me feel pretty good that we got an extra 102,000 on our side this weekend. And Jalen Milroe, okay, quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide, has never played in Neyland Stadium. He's never even played in Death Valley. So this is going to be...
let's give him a warm welcome.
This is going to be by far the most intense environment this kid has ever played in. Ever. This is going to be the most intense environment he has ever led an Alabama offense into. So it's going to be interesting.
My BVS, my battered Vol syndrome, says, just like you said earlier, that despite all these things, this kid's going to come out and play his best game of football ever, despite the environment, and Alabama is going to play their cleanest game of football all season, despite the fact that they're 120th in penalties, because that's the luck of a Tennessee Volunteer, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, my BVS gets the better of me sometimes. But at the end of the day, man, this is the freaking third Saturday in October. I want to win this football game. I want our team to just come down on the right side of those inches, man. Like we were talking about earlier, and like you said, now or never. This is the game to do it. Nico, this is the game to come in, ball out, and let's win this football game, and let's get this season back on track. Let's get into score predictions. What are you thinking?
I'll let you go first.
Me first. You always trying to get. Man, I asked you. You always trying to get me to go first. Let's see. Man, I want to predict that we win because despite my, I'll be honest with you. Internally, my BVS. I don't know that we're gonna win. That's my internal BVS. But my official prediction for the pod. I'm going to go 38-33 Vols win.
It's a high-scoring game. It's a very high-scoring game. Ah, man. Jeez, dude. Listen, I'm going to say this because I haven't talked about Heupel a lot. I thought Heupel was fine against Florida. I had a lot of problems with what he did against Arkansas. Some of the game management decisions. I don't like to criticize play calling because I've never called a game, and a lot of times it comes down to execution. But in regards to this game, if Heupel can pull this off, it's no more questioning Josh Heupel, okay? It is lifetime contract territory. Now, it doesn't mean he gets to go out and lose to Vanderbilt. Who would do that, right? Lose to Vandy, gee whiz. But anyways, oh yeah, there's a coach in this game that just did that. That's right. That's right.
But he's on the watch. He's on the watch list for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he's on the watch list because he coaches for Alabama. That's so smart, media. You're so smart. You complete idiots. I'm going to rip into because if you thought I ripped into him just now, no. It's going to be an hour post game of me ripping into those morons in the media. But anyways, yeah, if Heupel can pull this off, dude, it's I don't want to hear anybody say nothing about Josh Heupel. Okay, I don't want to hear that because it's. I mean, shoo-wee, that's going to be a massive, massive victory. Um, Golly, dude, I want to be optimistic, especially for the pod. I don't know, man. Alabama's looked so bad, but we've looked bad.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm gonna rewind.
Okay.
Let's give our BVS prediction.
Oh man.
And then let's give our podcast prediction. Okay.
Here,
My
I think okay.
my BVS prediction is Alabama wins 35-21.
Okay.
Is my BVS prediction. My pod prediction is we win 38-33.
Here's the thing, man. I'll give a BVS prediction as well because I think there's really two outcomes in this game. Well, I mean, there's hundreds of outcomes actually. I won't say that, but I think the two most likely outcomes, and Tennessee fans aren't going to hear this, but listen, if you get up on a big lead, it doesn't matter where you're playing at. The stadium's going to be quiet, and if Alabama gets out on a big lead, but just like they did against Georgia, and because our offense is inept in the first half. I mean, we haven't scored a point in the last two first halves we played. Then in that case, I think there's a possibility of an Alabama blowout. And so my BBS prediction, I'll go. Oh, geez, I'll go like 31 to 14. How about that for my BBS prediction? And for my pod prediction, oh man, I do think there's a very I think there's a chance that we win this football game. Okay, anyone who follows Josh Pate, the model has Tennessee winning this game. Just gonna throw that out there. The model does have Tennessee winning.
I love the model from old Pate.
Here's another stat that I actually almost didn't throw in, but I will. 16-1. Okay, in the last 17 games in Neyland. Josh Heupel is elite in Neyland Stadium, and I know we're all really down right now because the offense hasn't been good. But listen, he's elite in Neyland, and last time they came here, we saw what happened. So give me, for my actual prediction, give me Tennessee 30, Alabama 27.
All right, close game. You calling it by a field goal again? You calling it by 3 points again?
Yeah.
Field goal decides it. All right, man. I like it.
Walk-off field goal. That's my prediction. Walk-off field goal.
Another walk-off field goal, dude. Another classic.
If we win in that fashion, can you do a live show right afterwards? Can we get together, do a live show? Can we commit to that for the people?
We're gonna get y'all a live show. I'm gonna have to talk offline to Austin because he knows I've got some stuff going on in life. But yes, we'll get y'all a live episode if we win. And man, I hope it happens. We got to beat the Crimson Tide again.
I can't wait
because it's time.
Game.
It's time to keep this rivalry where it should be, which is competitive, and the Crimson Tide in the L column. So, all right, y'all. That is our episode. We are going to be posting this on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. So you're watching this on Thursday. Again, new episodes drop every Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Mondays will be our game review. Okay, so this coming Monday we'll be reviewing the game against Alabama, and then the game previews drop on Thursday to preview the upcoming opponent for that weekend. So Mondays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Like and comment, but go ahead and subscribe. Throw on the notification bell. That way you can be notified as soon as the podcast episodes hit, and then you'll be able to watch right as soon as they hit. And also give us a follow on Spotify. Right, Spotify's handy because you can play the audio in the car. If obviously we're not very pretty to look at, and we don't have a crazy good production going on yet. We're gonna get there one day. If these, especially if these Vols can motivate us to really get this production a little higher than it has been.
Yeah,
but
we might record it in 4K if we beat Alabama.
Dude, if we beat Alabama, we might go
drop $4,000 on a setup.
We might live stream from our phones as we're going to Best Buy to buy a new setup. But with that being said, again, the audio is what's most important. So give us a follow on Spotify as well. That way you can listen to the car as you're commuting, whatever the case may be. But either way, y'all, we appreciate y'all checking it out. We can't wait to keep going through this season with you, and we hope to be smiling faces with you come Monday morning when we review this Alabama game. So thank y'all for joining. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Talk to y'all then. Later.
Later. GBO.